Welcome to midweek reflections at St. Paul Lutheran Church. Today is March 3rd, 2021. A reading from Esther, chapter 4, verses 1 through 17. When Mordecai learned all that had been done, Mordecai tore his clothes and put on sackcloth and ashes, and went through the city, wailing with a loud and bitter cry. He went up to the entrance of the king's gate, for no one might enter the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. In every province, wherever the king's command and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews, with fasting and weeping and lamenting, and most of them lay in sackcloth and ashes. Well, when Esther's maids and her eunuchs came and told her, the queen was deeply distressed. She sent garments to clothe Mordecai, so that he might take off his sackcloth, but he would not accept them. Then Esther called for Hathach, one of the king's eunuchs, who had been appointed to attend her, and ordered him to go to Mordecai to learn what was happening and why. Hathach went out to Mordecai in the open square of the city in front of the king's gate. And Mordecai told him all that had happened to him, and the exact sum of money that Haman had promised to pay into the king's treasuries for the destruction of the Jews. Mordecai also gave him a copy of the written decree issued in Susa for their destruction, that he might show it to Esther, explain it to her, and charge her to go to the king to make supplication to him and entreat him for her people. Well, Hathach went and told Esther what Mordecai had said. Then Esther spoke to Hathach and gave him a message from Mordecai, saying, "All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces know that if any man or woman goes to the king inside the inner court without being called, there is but one law. All alike are to be put to death. Only if the king holds out the golden scepter to someone may that person live. I myself have not been called to come into the king for 30 days. When they told Mordecai what Esther had said, Mordecai told them to reply to Esther, "Do not think that in the king's palace you will escape any more than all the other Jews. For if you keep silence at such a time as this, relief and deliverance will rise to the Jews from another quarter, but you and your father's family will perish. Who knows? Perhaps you have come to royal dignity for just such a time as this." Then Esther said in reply to Mordecai, "Go, gather all the Jews to be found in Susa, and hold a fast on my behalf, and neither eat nor drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my maids will also fast as you do. After that, I will go to the king, though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish." Mordecai then went away and did everything as Esther had ordered him. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. When something bad happens, sometimes people might say, "I was in the wrong place at the wrong time." However, the reverse can also be true. You can also be in the right place at the right time. For some people, that's as simple as being the one who finds a $20 bill laying on the street. But for others, though, like Esther, it is something much, much bigger. Esther was a queen, but she wasn't always that way. At the beginning of the book bearing her name, we hear about King Ahasuerus of Susa. He throws a banquet for the people and tells Queen Vashti to come to the party. She refused. Not only to come to the party, but also to be treated like some animal who could come when his master says to come. Well, the king is so furious that he basically fires her, and he goes out searching for a new queen. In order to find that queen, he holds a beauty pageant and has all of the beautiful young women in the land parade in front of him. And he ended up picking Esther. She moved into the palace along with her cousin Mordecai, because he looked after her since both of her parents had died. Now, the king's right-hand man, named Haman, was demanding that the people bow down before him. Mordecai, as a good Jew, refused to bow to anyone except God. Well, Haman became furious and vowed to kill not only Mordecai, but also all of the Jews in the land. When Esther heard about it, she wanted to do something, but didn't know what. Mordecai then told her, "Who knows? Perhaps you have come to royal dignity for just such a time as this." In other words, perhaps she was in the right place at the right time to do something about this upcoming tragedy. As queen, she could do something to stop Haman's plan of killing the Jewish people. Well, Esther then got the courage to approach the king. And eventually she told him that she was Jewish too. And if the king really loved her as he said he did, then he would stop Haman from killing her and all of her people. Well, the king agreed and ended up having Haman himself killed instead. Sometimes there is nothing we can do about the bad things in life. On the other hand, sometimes we are in the right place at the right time to do something about it. During a time of crisis like this pandemic, sometimes we are just so focused on making it through for ourselves that we forget something really important. We may be the sign of hope for someone else. The Jews in the land at the time of Esther probably heard about Haman's plot to kill them, and they were likely terrified. They felt hopeless and didn't know what to do. It was Esther, though, who provided them with the hope they needed. It was Esther who showed them that God was still looking out for them. During this time of pandemic, all of us need the reminder that God is looking out for us too. But all of us are also called to be that reminder for others. Right? The people around you are going through this just like you are. As we've heard from the very beginning of this pandemic, we are all in this together. And that doesn't just mean this is affecting all of us at the same time. No, it means we are here to support each other through this. God works through others to remind you of hope and love. And God also works through you to remind others of those same promises. So as you look at the people around you in your life, think about how you can be a sign of hope to them too. Think about how you can be an Esther to someone else, reminding them that you are looking out for them and that God is looking out for them. Wherever you are in life right now, however old you are, whatever you're going through, perhaps you are in the right place at the right time to give someone else hope. If God can work through Esther, then God can work through you too. Even in a pandemic, God is still our hope.